we have these three things which are important. One is the processing, one is the memory, one is the IO port. And now we have got some introduction of store program concept, John von Neumann machine, IES computer, register architecture, and Harvard architecture. And then we have gone through the generations which we have passed as far as the computer evolution is concerned. And all these generations, they have a remarkable change they have introduced by the technology, by the engineer, by the scientist. And overall, more and more, the basic objective is to improve the performance of computer system, that is speed, access time, larger memory, low power consumption, uh, all these things, and compact size, and at the same time to reduce the cost also. So this is the evolution of computer, and then after that, in the fourth generation, when because of LSI and VLSI, we could manufacture say more than 1,000 gates on a single chip. So then it has become possible to build a whole CPU, whole central processing unit, on a single chip, and that we refer to that CPU or chip as a microprocessor. And there are many companies like Intel, Motorola. These are the two big manufacturers of processor, and most of the system which we are using, they use say, and then we have computer companies like IBM, International Business Machine. And after processor, there evolution of processor. So we have initially the 4004, which was 4-bit processor. Then we have say 8080, which is 1974 8-bit processor. Then we have 8085, which have 8-bit, 8086, which is 16-bit, 8088, which is again 8-bit processor. So then we have 286, 386, 486, and after 486, actually it should have been 586. So because of the company strategy, they want name should be marketable also and more catchy. So 5 is actually, as you know, that 5 is referred to penta, as 6 is hexagonal, 7 is 8 is octet. So 80586, instead of 80586, they have named it actually Pentium. And then the Pentium series were there: Pentium, Pentium 1, Pentium 2, Pentium 3, Pentium 4. And you can easily see the uh, how the things are improving, say from 8-bit to 64-bit. And also there is a change in the speed of clock speed, so which will actually govern the speed of computer, how the access time will be there. Number of transistors has drastically improved, and they are all, and this is the year which we are there. And so that is how first, say, starting from say late 30s or 40s, they have improving the technology by the computer system, by the vacuum tube transistor. And after 71, then there is a evolution in the whole computer system, and basically they are microprocessor based. So we have 8-bit, 16-bit. So when we say 8-bit, that means 8-bit data could be manipulated at the same time. 8-bit data could be added at the same time. 8-bit data could be subtracted. 8-bit data could be compared, like so on. Then we have, say, if you see here, we have first, then we could have say 32 bits, then 32 bits, like this one, and then 64 bit. So first was actually 4004, which is 4-bit processor. Excuse me. So, so from 4-bit, we could reach up to say 16-bit by Pentium 4, and after that we have Core 2 Duo, Core I series, and many integrated core architecture. All these were there. So that is, we must appreciate the effort of these engineers and scientists, that how they have started from 40, how the drastically they have changed the performance of the computer system, and that is why we have a more compact, more powerful, more memory system, and also the cost is relatively not as high as compared to the initial computers. So as we have seen that this is the Moore's law, that is starting from 4004 to we have Pentium 4. So, and this is what we have discussed last time, that Moore's law stated that the number of transistors on a microchip doubles about every 2 years. And though the cost of computer is halved in 1965, Gordon E. Moore, the co-founder of Intel, made this observation that became as Moore's law. So this is what about the, if you know, we have computer systems, which is a combination of hardware and, and software. So in each component, the development have been done drastically. So hardware development, as we have seen, from vacuum tube, transistor, SSI, MSI, LSI, and then processor. And but all these, this hardware, they could work only when we supply some instruction, when we supply some program, when we supply some software. So without hardware, software cannot do anything. Without software, hardware is not as powerful as when you supply the instruction, because we need to give some instruction. Whether it is a simple add of two numbers, even then we have to supply that instruction to the hardware. So only if we supply two numbers and if we supply the instructions plus, only then the things will be added. So that is why we need hardware and software. And so basically, yes.
Some students want to join.
Okay. Okay. So as we know that computer, or say machine, understands only the language of ones and zeros, which we call as machine language. So this is just a series of 1 1 0 0 1 0 kind of instruction. So there are actually, so we have to supply some instruction. So initially it was what they call actually machine low level programming language, because they were used to program the computer system at a very low level of abstraction, that is at the machine level. So the machine language always works as the native language of the computer. System is the first generation programming language. So machine language, though it is the first generation, but still machine generation has to be there. So it is not the first generation; it is still used. Only thing that they have developed also a assembly language, and we also have a third generation which is high level. So basically we have HALL, assembly, and then we have machine level. So as you are aware that if you have say machine, so HLL has to be converted to machine language program. And even if you have an assembly language, this also has to be converted to machine language. So only thing that HHL needs some kind of translator which we normally refer as compiler. Assembly language needs some kind of translator which we call. All of you are familiar with these words actually. So this will convert to machine language. So that is why machine language, though it is the first language, but it is still, because computer understand only the language of zeros and one. We always, the knowledge of machine language is beneficial, because even if you write program in, whether you are writing in HLL, whether you are writing the program in the assembly language, they need to be converted through certain kind of software or program to the machine language. And of course, the importance of high level language, that it is versatile, it is machine independent, and that is why it is called the high level language. It is, we can easily uh, modify the program, easily understandable, and need to be edited, then it is possible to edit all these things. And of course, suppose if you have machine 1 and if you have machine 2, if you have machine 3, so one HHL may run on all these three using different compiler. This is the compiler 1, this is the compiler 2, this is the compiler 3. This is like something English has to be converted to Hindi, English has to be converted to Russian, English has to be converted to Spanish. So you need appropriate translator. So this translator compiler need to convert this HL language to the machine language which is understood by machine 1. This compiler must convert this HL to the machine language which is can be understood by machine 2. So compiler may be different, but this HL can work on this one. This is slightly and also if you have say machine 1, machine 2, machine 3, then assembler also, if you have say assembly language program, then it can also convert to the machine language. But only thing that assembly language, just how can I explain it? Say I mean say assembly language program say for machine 1 and assembly language for machine 1. They are only run for machine 1. Assembly language for machine 2 and say machine language, and machine language for machine 2. They will run only on machine 1 and they can only run on machine 2. However, high level language program can be converted to this machine or this machine using different compiler. So that is why assembly language is also machine dependent, and that is why it is also should be termed as a low level language. So assembly language has a one thing common. In the HAL, you may have term like if A greater than B, then C is equal to A plus B kind of word. In machine language, we will have these things, all these things are written as in terms of 1, 0, like this one. In assembly language, there are certain pseudocode which we call mnemonics. They are English like word, like say add, multiply, like these things. But so assembly language in this way it is similar to HSL because it uses English like language. But at machine level, but it is also, but this is not the high level language because it is only this and this. They totally run on same machine. So assembly language code and machine language code for machine 1 is may be different from assembly language code and machine language code for machine 2. And assembly language code for machine 3 and machine language code for M3 will be different from this one. So that is why they are totally machine dependent language. One program not necessarily run for the second machine or third machine or fourth machine, and that is why they are not called high level language. And when we call say high level language, that is HHL, this program can be run on any machine M1, M2, M3. Of course, we need a certain kind of translator or compiler. That so basically, uh, basically we have at least three way to write program. High level language using like C, C++, Pascal, Java, Fortran, all these things. Then also we can write program in assembly language like add, mul, compare, like these kind of things. And also we can write program in machine language. This is 1001, 101101 like this. So the you can easily think that here if the program is written here, they can be easily understood because this is written something like this one where maybe a is equal to 3, b is equal to 5, like this one. In this case it may be written as add 3, 5, and in this case it may be written as 101. Just for example, this is 3, this is 5, and this is for example say add. So you can see this program is very cumbersome to understand because whether it is add, subtract, we cannot know whether it is a add or addition, subtraction. We cannot know by using seeing the strings of zeros and one because they are all strings of 0, 1. C may be A multiplied by B. So this program can give multi 3 5. But here for multiplication we may use 101 and 011101. So this may be the code for multiplication, this may be the code for addition, for example. And in another machine it may be 000 for addition. For machine 2, for machine 2 it may be 110 for multiplication. In machine 2 it may be only 8 at 35. In machine 2 it may be MULTI35. But so this is machine dependent. But normally high level language, normally we have only these things, C A plus B. So this may be converted to you can say this may be converted to this, or this may be converted to this, depending on the compiler. And this also has to be converted to this, or this also has to be converted to this one. So that is how the program could be written in all these three possible ways. Of course, high level language program can easily understood, can easily modified, can easily altered, can easily be extended, because we can, by seeing the program, you can know that whether what kind of program is there. In machine level language, it is very difficult to see, understand the program, because only we can understand if we know that 111 is the addition, and that is only for the particular machine. If you change the machine, the code will be different. And assembly language is in between high level and machine language, because in assembly language, we also have just kind of code, we can know that this is add and this is multiply, so we can know actually all these things. But so machine language is the fastest, but it is most cumbersome. High level language is most versatile, but of course it needs compiler. And assembly language is mid-level language. It is in between high level and language as far as the speed is concerned, as well as the cumbersomeness is concerned. So that is why it is in between high level language and machine language. So of course the large program and the program which need to be changed every time, modified, they will be written of course in the high level language program. Program which are dedicated and need not to be changed for some time, they could be written in assembly language or machine language. One thing is just to say say for machine 1, suppose we have plus, add will be 1 1. For machine 2, plus maybe ADN, and this may be 0 1. But this will be fixed for machine 2, and this will be fixed for machine 1. So that is why from assembly to machine language, translation is very easy, because it has a counterpart. For add we have say this one, for this machine we have this one. But suppose if you write say 3 plus 5, then it can be converted to for this machine, and this could be converted for this machine using a different compiler. From here to here we need an assembler, from here to here we need an assembler. So the concept is, we have these hardwares and then we supply say instruction to this machine in either HHL level, assembly language, or low level language, or machine level language. The program this should be written processor will process, and then we can have all these things. So this is how the things will be there. Central processing unit